heated, intense rhetoric and leveled some very extreme allegations at the left.
Can we stop trying to blame this on Charlie Kirk? He asked you a question, Tim. Are you going to take any risk? Whenever you're asked a tough question, it goes back to what Donald Trump did and what Charlie Kirk did.
See? It's just one-sided. They just want you to come out here and beg. That's what they want. They bring you out here for a performance.
To the trans community. His boyfriend was transitioning. Okay? There is a common denominator here.
It's something is deeply raped in your mind to think that just knowing a trans person would move you to the point of being ready to carry out assassinations against political figures like this. Like, it doesn't track. We would have 100,000 Antifa super soldiers, trans Tifa super soldiers running around assassinating people. Like, your mind is so broken at that point. You're so obsessed with dumping fat loads all over your household, worshiping girl cock. It must occupy every corner of your mind to even think that's a legitimate thing to say. Like, in any other comparison, somebody would call you crazy. That guy murdered a politician. What happened? He was dating a white guy. What? He had a white boyfriend. He radicalized him. What the fuck? Aren't most school shooters white? I guess, but why would that radicalize him? Is there any evidence of him being radicalized? Yeah, the evidence is he's willing to date a white man.
Almost too frequently, certainly if you take it by the rate, the number of actual trans people in the world or in America, it's like 1.5%. The shooters, this shooter had access to or proximity to a trans boyfriend whom he maybe been radicalized by him. Yeah.
You have no evidence of any of this. There's no evidence of any of this. You're just making shit up. You're crazy.
Minnesota recently, trans shooter. You had Nashville, trans shooter. It goes on and on. So the proliferation of trans.
I feel like those are like the only three. But the one, the crazy one was it Minnesota? Who was the one that did the church shooting? But that person also seemed like that person was like crazy radicalized. But I don't know if we would even say they were like radicalized by trans stuff. That was like a crazy anarcho, like insane person. That was the person we saw like the Notebook with like the 100 pages written in, not Russian, but the Russian alphabet. I always call it acrylic, but it's not acrylic. Cyrillic? It's just like, that person was like a insane person, but you could tell they were insane. Or I don't know. I don't want to just say insane, actually. I'm so sorry. I'm using that word very imprecisely. That person was not insane. That person was radicalized. I don't think there was any evidence that that person was insane. They seemed pretty much like within their faculty. I don't think there was any evidence of them being psychotic or having any kind of delusions or whatever. That person was just like radical, like crazy.
Trans murderers is at a much higher rate than they actually are in the general population.
Eric, that's a lie. And there's no need to attack. Look, you just literally have increased the temperature. If you want to lower the temperature, and I think we all agree on this, Erica Kirk, what she said was the following.
I don't want
she
to lower
said
the
forgiveness and love.
You missed my
Donald Trump, wait. Speaking of lowering the
temperature.
temperature, Donald Trump, I don't care if he's MAGA, he's the president. He's the president of all Americans. He could have and should have used that moment in front of the world to follow Erica's lead and just lower the temperature.
But you haven't.
What you have failed to do today is you have increased the temperature attacking.
Let me just jump in. Let me just jump in.
Thank you, Joe Biden, for the subs. I love you. 3 tier 1 subs. Sleepy Joe Biden.
In America,
let me just challenge you on that point.
And the DOJ just scrubbed it.
Let me just.
We want to keep our kids safe.
Let me just jump in.
The problems. Lower the temperature.
I'm hearing a lot of people. Destiny did this as well last week. A lot of people on the left coming on, and they justify their own behaviour by using Trump. Right? Well, if Trump's doing this, and Trump's doing that, to which my response is, and I think Tim hinted at this earlier, everyone is accountable for their own behaviour. You shouldn't have your behavioural pattern dictated to by what the president does or anybody else. You, Wajahat.
I understand this is repeated as a truism, but it's just not true. The behaviour that you exhibit does largely fall in line with the behavior of people around you. It's called living in a society, right? I walk outside and I don't necessarily have high-powered security, firearms, guard towers around me because I trust that most people around me are not trying to murder me. The way that I conduct myself outside is like a normal person in a healthy civil society where we all trust each other. If I was a combatant in the military on, the field of combat, I would conduct myself a lot differently. I would have probably a firearm. I'd be working with a team of people. I'd be shooting and killing other people that looked at me from the other team, right? It would be much different. Your behavior is absolutely dictated to some extent by the people around you, with some exceptions. I mean, with some exceptions. But the statement he's just making is so overly broadly stupid.
Right, you're a smart guy, you're a passionate guy, you have a lot of strong beliefs, just like Charlie Kirk did. They didn't always interlock, fair enough. But I found what you did yesterday was this mindset of, if Trump does it, I can do it. And where's the high moral ground in that? Where is the intellectual honesty?
President Trump consoled the nation yesterday. President Trump consoled the nation yesterday.
He's also, I don't think this guy said he didn't want to turn down the temperature. And also Piers, and I know he does this because he's a scum, is not quoting my position correctly, right? My position is not the same as Trump's. My position is better than Trump's. My position is, if Trump disavows, then I think everybody on the left should disavow. We should all follow suit. All of us should be disavowing political violence. Political violence is bad. That's not Trump's position. Trump's position is make them disavow, and we don't have to. Our positions are not the same there. My behavior is not just copying his bad behavior. My behavior is superior to his behavior. If Trump were to say, well, you know, I'll disavow, then they can disavow, or if they disavow, then we'll disavow, or whatever, then that's fine. Okay, then fine, then we're equal. That's good.
Okay. He consoled a grieving widow.
Facts matter, Carrie, real quick.
He brought the country together.
Oh my God. Oh my God, demons, dude.
Not bring the country together. He literally, after Erica said a beautiful statement, he literally increased the temperature and said the following.
No, we know you read it already, but you've done the same.
We know what it is.
Listen, this is what Donald Trump said.
But you've done the same. You've done the same. You've done the same.
I hate my opponent.
You've read it already.
I don't want the best for them.
You've read it already.
Then, as we know, he has asked Pam Bondi, his DOJ, to go against all Democrats. This is a man who is the president of the United States. Lower the temperature. And I also want to say, because
Okay, Destiny, Kasparian is wrong to be defined by haters, but for you, it's fine to be defined by Trump. My politics hasn't changed because of Donald Trump. My politics would be the same no matter what. But I don't have to apply the same rule to most other people because most other people are decent human beings. Donald Trump is an indecent man. So it's kind of weird to say, it's weird to say that, no, I would treat everyone the same. If I ran into anybody that wasn't disavowing violence or was a constant piece of shit or whatever, I wouldn't show this person grace over and over and over and over and over and over again for this guy to take advantage of and destroy everything in my life and everything else, right? I don't even know why I have to argue this because you guys make the same arguments when it comes to immigrants, for example. You wouldn't let these people in your home, right? Kick them out, get them out of here. Right? You know, these guys are thieves and rapists and murderers. It's not even true for most of them, but whatever.
facts matter. 2 weeks ago, there was no suspect. 2 weeks ago, there was no motive. Irresponsibly and recklessly, it was Donald Trump who took to the world stage and irresponsibly and incorrectly blamed the radical left.
Yep.
And you also had Stephen Miller yesterday say them. They were responsible. Not, I'm not responsible. Tim's not responsible. It was Tyler Robinson.
But you called Stephen Miller a Nazi yesterday.
They said they.
I mean, he basically is.
Call
Lower
Stephen Miller.
Guys, look to your leader, Donald
Trump.
Trump.
I look to you, Wajai. You called Stephen Miller a Nazi yesterday.
Piers Morgan.
You called him a Nazi yesterday, effectively. You said this sounds like an unhinged speech in Germany from 1939.
Called Donald Trump
Fine. Here's my point, Wajai. You want the right to brand Stephen Miller a Nazi in the middle of his speech at a memorial service, and then whenever you're challenged about you raising the temperature to such ludicrous levels of comparing people.
I can't speak for this guy. We don't want the right to brand these people Nazis. Listen, obviously we have huge disagreements with the right, okay? All we want is for people on the right to say, like, listen up, guys, no matter what, we should all be peaceful at all of these events. Nobody should be trying to kill anybody. Nobody should be trying to assassinate their political opponents. Nobody should be looking for violent revenge, okay? Protect your loved ones, protect yourselves, but don't attack or try to kill your political enemies. I wish that Stephen Miller would say that Donald Trump would say that, everybody would say that. We can all agree on that and then go back to fighting, you know, rhetorically.
On the Trump MAGA right to Nazis and Hitler and so on. Whenever we say to you, well, why are you doing this? You say, but Trump does this and Trump does that. And Stephen Miller does this. What you don't do is look at yourself and go, how should I behave? I don't think it's appropriate for you to be calling people Nazis on stage at a memorial service.
So, Piers, do you think it's appropriate for the president of the United States, who's far more powerful than me?
He just did it again.
It's you I'm talking to.
He just did it again.
Furthermore, I did not call Donald Trump America's Hitler. That was RFK.
No, you called Stephen Miller a Nazi.
With influential positions. So what are we doing here?
What we're doing here is reminding you. What I'm doing here is reminding you of what you posted during the memorial service.
Lower the temperature. Tweet that out.
You keep talking about lowering the temperature.
But
with respect, you keep talking about lowering the temperature. You're the guy who, in the middle of the memorial service, called one of the speakers a Nazi.
Who did I?
Stephen Miller.
Tell him to stop quoting Nazis. Like, this memorial service was crazy. It's crazy. These memorial services are crazy. Also, these things are set up too, I feel like, to you hard. Like, I haven't watched the beginning part of this, so I can't speak for Tim, but like, Tim should be backing him up more here. The idea that, you know, random pundits online need to be dragged out in the streets of Piers Morgan uncensored to disavow violence. Meanwhile, these ghoulish, subhuman, demonic entities are on here screeching and raving and then going back to their own platforms to make up conspiracies about who the shooter was intentionally with the goal of making some of America feel like other parts of America are actually trying to murder them, right? To drive all of the hatred, divisiveness, the incommensurability of our politics to say that, like, we can no longer communicate with each other because this other side is fundamentally evil, battle of good and evil, right? It's just, this is absurd, right? The moderation on this show is Tim should have this guy's back more, in my opinion.
Stephen Miller quoted Goebbels. He quoted.
So you
Goebbels'
think he's a
speech.
Nazi?
And he, by the way, is in the Trump administration.
You think he's a Nazi?
So speaking about not lowering the temperature.
Is he a Nazi?
Goebbels' speech.
Is he a Nazi?
I call him a Nazi, but he did quote Goebbels' speech.
Is he a Nazi?
That's terrifying.
Okay, is he a Nazi?
No, he's not.
Like, imagine using this, like, interview style. Why don't you use this with Trump, right? Why would you quote this? Do you disavow? Do you disavow? Rather than saying, Donald Trump.
But he seems to love Nazi talking points.
They're probably not helpful in terms of lowering the temperature to brand him
it's not helpful
on
to
X
quote
during a
Hitler's
memorial
speech
speech.
at a
Let me bring
memorial.
Tim Miller back in here. Tim,
This is shameless, Piers.
It's actually, it is shameless because you keep deflecting from any accountability for what you yourself have done.
Me at the same responsibility
All right,
of
Tim,
Donald Trump.
let me bring in Tim.
So you see, I think it sounded like at the end there he did disavow or whatever. He did what Piers wanted, but now he just moves on to the next thing, right? It's not like he's going to get any credit for it, and nobody here is going to give him credit for it. And they're not going to talk about Trump next. Now they're just going to move on to the next quote. That's exactly what would have happened.
Do not ask Donald Trump and Stephen Miller
Okay, it's fine.
to lower
I
the
asked those
temperature
guys.
when they are leading the country.
Yes.
What are you doing,
Okay,
Piers?
Tim.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to follow. I mean, watch out, say the same point several times. I just want to respond to something Eric said because I do think that it is important. Where Eric talked about how I go around in the media and I criticize Donald Trump and I criticize MAGA Republicans. Yeah, I do that. I have like very deep criticisms of the policies that Donald Trump is putting forth. I have very deep criticisms of the policies that Kerry put forth. We've argued about that before in several different forums, not just here.
It's also like, this is like such a piece of shit move. You ever have a friend who's like, I'm sorry, this is me, but like, you ever have a friend who's like fucking annoying and they're the one in the group. Sorry, I'm making everybody paranoid. This isn't you for sure. But like, there's that friend in the group which is always annoying. The person who's always fucking annoying, and then they show up one day and you're really like not here for it. But like, their fucking aunt died or some shit, and you're like, oh god. And they're like, oh, she was like a mom to me. And it's like, like I don't want to be addicted to you right now, but like, oh my god. And they're like, my aunt died. Like, it's like, right? Like this whole like Charlie Kirk just died. How are you gonna criticize the Republicans who are having one of their largest campaign rallies in history at his fucking vigil? Give me a fucking break.
Forth. I have very deep criticisms of the policies that Kerry put forth. We've argued about that before in several different forums, not just here. We've had debates. Here's the thing that the game that is being played that I don't like, right? Which is like Charlie was able to go out and have these debates in public, and that was good. And in those debates, he smeared the left. He went at him hard. He went at him really hard. He attacked people from the left. He attacked Joe Biden. He attacked politicians. And that was good that he was out there having those debates, and that was a value that he was having those debates, and he didn't deserve to die because of that. And that's something I 100% agree with. But then you flip it on the other side and say, well, Tim or whoever is out there and they're criticizing MAGA and they use harsh words and they criticize MAGA harshly, and that they're responsible then for the violence. And I just don't agree with that. That's kind of a leftist view, really, that like words are violence.
But do you not think, Tim, but Tim, on that point, Tim, do you not think, because I got into this as a political...
do you not think that I'm calling them fascists and calling them Nazis and saying...
show in the UK called Question Time. It's the most watched political panel show. And I was on it last week with Bonnie Greer, who's an American...
Wait. Okay, so Tim is taking, in my opinion, I love Tim, and I don't ever say he's taking the cucked position, okay? But he's definitely more middle of the road than I was on this, okay? He's trying to meet them, I think. I feel like people would have wanted me to go even further than Tim is going here, but he's trying to meet him. And then what did I say last time? I said, even if you were to acknowledge that, then all they would do is they go, well, what about this tweet? What about this person who said this? Or what about this person who said this, right? I said that's where they would go next. Is Piers about to do exactly that? Is that exactly what's about to happen?
That like words are violence.
But do you not think, Tim, but Tim, on that point, Tim, do you not think, because I got into this, there's a political show in the UK called Question Time, it's the most watched political panel show. And I was on it last week with Bonnie Greer, who's an American political commentator, who just has repeatedly called Trump Hitler.
Like, who is this person? They might be a big news person, I just don't know, I'm sorry. Bonnie Greer? Who is this person? Fox News?
And Greer, who's a show in the UK called Question Time. It's the most watched
Question Time, a show in the UK called Question Time.
Political panel show. And I was on it last week with
Bonnie Greer. This person? She is appointed former Chancellor of Kingston University in Kingston upon the Thames, London. Is this who he's talking about? 2 years ago.
Get the army on the streets. Well, that's what you'd like to say.
Wait, is that her?
For this country, nothing.
Called Trump a Nazi. Trump.
What can we learn from Donald Trump? A lot. He's actually achieved, you can hate Trump all you like, but you cannot deny what he's done on the southern border in America is a spectacular success. Under Joe Biden, they estimate up to 10 million. They don't know the exact number.
Sorry. Your boyfriend doesn't believe it's 10 million, Piers. It's up to 25 million, I think, is the current number. Oh my God.
They estimate up to 10 million people.
What year was this? This was the year 2025. It was 4 days ago.
Bonnie. The question is, what can we learn from Donald Trump for this country? Nothing.
Donald Trump. Okay, Bonnie, I'm just going to point out that I would say maybe half of you are applauding, but certainly half of you are not to that.
And if I can just carry on,
of course.
I said you say Piers, so I don't want to say that down.
Of course.
But the United States has become a much less civil society than it ever has been. You do not, in the United States of America, ever have somebody jump out of a truck with a mask on their face and take you down and take you to a prison and put you somewhere you don't even know where you are and you cannot contact your family. You do not in the United States deport a person without due process because we are a nation of laws. This nation exists under the rule of law. The only way we can live is civilized human beings. Donald Trump has effectively destroyed that, hopefully not totally. He's taken people, if you come from Mexico, and you're captured by ICE, I'm going to use the word capture, you can be taken to a jurisdiction that is friendly with Donald Trump's White House, and you can be deported to South Sudan. What the hell has that got to do with being Mexican? And that's why people aren't coming, because they're being sent into the Twilight Zone, and this is being allowed by the Congress.
Honest question, given in the last few weeks, I checked your sentiment. Investigation so far has led them to believe
I would love that be brought in.
I'd love a response, because this young guy, according to the authorities, and we still need to find out more, but they believe he was radicalized by, as they put it, a leftist ideology in the last year or so.
But hang on, let's be clear. We just don't know that right now. Okay, so so it could be true, it could be absolutely
but
not
I'm saying what the authorities have publicly said, which is their investigation so far has led them to believe that was the case. He initialed on the bullet casings anti-fascist sentiment. Bonnie, I would...
Well, on one of them... Everybody hates the nuzzling.
Put this to you.
Anti-nuzzlers?
How much do you think people like you are responsible? Honest question, given in the last few weeks, I checked your X feed, you have repeatedly called Donald Trump Adolf, Hitler, and a Nazi. Like, do you think...
Did I call him
Yes, I've actually got 3 of them here.
Oh, wow, that's very interesting.
I mean, can I just point out, Piers, can I just point out that J.D. Vance also
I agree, that was completely wrong too. Right? Here's my point.
And he's obviously on the right.
If people in public life go around calling Donald Trump and his supporters Hitler and Nazis and fascists and stuff...
If even your vice presidential pick has said it, though, like, maybe something's going on there, Chief.
I haven't finished yet.
Let me finish.
You can come back in a moment.
Let me finish, brother.
Okay, hang on. Finish briefly, and then let me bring Bonnie. I'll bring you in, Bonnie.
Which is simply this. You can hate Donald Trump. You can disagree with Donald Trump. We can disagree in a civil way about Donald Trump. But when people in public life go around publicly calling him Adolf Hitler, who murdered 12 million people, including 6 million Jews in the Holocaust, young, impressionable, deranged minds may hear that and think the logical assumption is they have to kill these people. And that's why it's so dangerous. And I think you should delete all the tweets you put up where you call Donald Trump Adolf Hitler.
Can I say something? First of all, I said something that was a comparison to history. I didn't throw that out there. We can spend another show talking about that.
I can remind you.
Okay, hang on. We can spend another... I didn't throw it out. Comparison to history. I didn't... Can I say something? First of all, I said something that was a comparison to history. I didn't throw that out there. We can spend another show talking about that.
I can remind you.
Okay, hang on. We can spend another... I didn't throw it out there. I don't do that. Okay? I made a comparison to him, and I meant it.
You think
also, the Vice President of the United States compared him.
And that was wrong, too.
Okay, let her answer, please.
It's not only wrong, brother. He's the Vice President of the United States, okay? So that's the point. In the United States of America, as an American, there's no such thing as free speech because we can't do free speech in a civilized society. I can't yell fire in here because I feel like it. We have freedom of speech. I have an opinion. I can state my opinion. And not only that, Piers.
That wasn't my point.
Let her answer,
Piers, you've been talking, bro. Let me speak now, okay?
All right, sis.
Okay, let me speak. I don't call people, I've never called anyone Hitler in my life.
You've literally called him twice in the last 3 weeks.
I've never called anyone other than Donald Trump Hitler in my life.
He's not Hitler.
Okay, let her answer, Piers.
We can talk about all aspects of where he's connected with it, and we don't have time to do that. It doesn't, at the end of the day, and you're going to tell me something that's absurd. If he's made a man his vice president who's called him Adolf Hitler, what's the issue here?
All right, that's wrong.
Not wrong, he's the vice president.
Let me just go back to Patrick.
Based queen, my Chicago queen.
Where were you, Patrick? So you asked this question. The implication of your question is that there's an element of hypocrisy here. Am I right or am I wrong?
Oh, massively.
Yeah, so just tell me why you've asked this question.
The main thing that prompted it, and it's relatively trivial, all things considered, was waking up this morning and hearing that the Jimmy Kimmel show has been cancelled because...
Okay, let me just for those of you who don't know, and perhaps at home, Jimmy Kimmel was a very, very well-known chat show host in America. I mean, in America, he's absolutely a household name, and the show's been cancelled. He's been taken off the air because of comments he made about Charlie Kirk and claims that he made about the person who was a suspect in killing Charlie Kirk. And this was felt, certainly by Donald Trump and others, to be very offensive.
See, the comments weren't about Charlie Kirk. They were about the people already, almost gleefully, weaponizing his death to advance their agenda.
That's not true.
That is absolutely true. My bonger, you've bonged. The Big Ben bongs for you.
Gleefully weaponizing his death to advance their agenda.
That's not true. These things have to...
If we lived in a sane media environment, then people like Piers and all these other faux news, media, whatever people should be forced to answer. I'm curious, has there been a single one of these disgusting people who've been forced to answer, how do you feel about the fact that Donald Trump, and I believe J.D. Vance, I think both of them, had completely and totally fabricated the ideology and the motivation for the shooter before we even had video of the 7 pixels running across the roof. That was a complete and utter fabrication from the highest office in the land. And now we're supposed to believe that a subordinate agency is going to conduct that investigation in good faith. If you understand how the agencies work and everything, then maybe sure. But like to an average person, how would I ever be able to trust you to give me an unbiased answer, knowing that you staked so much of your public reputation and statement on who this guy is and what his ideology is before knowing a single thing about him? Like, reckon with that.
I'm thrilled to have you on the panel, but you just, and I will come back to you, but you just got to let him to make his point.
It is an untrue statement.
Okay, Patrick, can you carry on, please?
Okay. I just think I'm taking stock of various different things that have been said here. But the point about hypocrisy. I mean, even the point about Graham Linehan, I forget how to pronounce his surname, Graham Linehan, who was arrested at the airport. The only reason they were armed police is because they were airport police, and that's what airport police wear. It's not that they were a specially requisitioned SWAT team to take down one guy for hate tweets. I just think, and this is a point that really does concern me, because so my wife is American, like she moved over here a few years ago. We talk about moving back to the States at some point, but neither of us want to move back there at all under this climate, under this regime. And the fact that we are getting constantly, and this isn't even a one-off thing, J.D. Vance's speech that was at the Munich conference earlier this year.
Unbelievable.
And even like the comments like off the back of, excuse me, backing. Oh, I'm totally backing, excuse me.
Yes, I've put you on the spot here, but you've made your point. No, but thank you. No, I'd rather put you on the spot getting to extemporise there. Yes, person there in the glasses, yes, with the
Why they don't respond to the question?
grey cardi, I think.
Yeah, I think freedom of speech is very difficult to say, because there is, the people being arrested for tweeting, that's against freedom of speech. People holding up signs supporting a banned organisation, that's anti-freedom of speech. But I don't think that it's correct in America. I think that freedom of speech is changed in the Oval Office. When President Trump is given questions, he doesn't take questions from certain news organisations. Therefore, that's preventing freedom of speech. So I don't think we can learn anything from America.
Okay, let me take one more person in the audience. Yes, woman there.
My question is, given the death of Charlie Kirk, it's a tragedy.
Given the death of Charlie Kirk,
Charlie Kirk, yes. Just circling it back to Charlie Kirk. Loss of life is always a tragedy. My question is, has that finally made the right reckon notion that words, and not just actions, have consequences, including Mr. Trump, who so vehemently denied to take any responsibility for his comment, "Fight like hell," which caused people to go on the Capitol Hill and mount that attack on Congress?
Excuse me, fight like hell. He also said, I know they'll be marching peacefully. Why would we choose the fight like hell ones? Oh, because they did march there and fight like hell afterwards.
So, Donald Trump and others, and indeed Piers, have been talking about the left need to think about their words and consequences. The point you're making is that in America, the right need to think about that as well. Would you agree with that, James?
I don't think we need to start saying this group of people need to think about the consequences of their words, or that group of people need to think about the consequences of their words. Here's a novel idea. How about everybody thinks about the consequences of the things they say?
And do you think we should be learning or taking lectures, as the way Patrick's put it, about free speech from America?
Well, the whole point about free speech is that people can say what they want to say. If you want to listen to comments or criticisms from America, fine. If you choose not to, that's up to you.
And do you think free speech is being observed in America under the Trump administration?
So, as a former foreign secretary, I've been to a number of places around the world where there are cities where that genuinely many places, number of I do faithful to be
familiar with that.
But
so what we've learned to our a former president said yesterday, democracy is no.
Okay, sorry. All right.
Bonnie Grimm.
And that like words are violence.
But do you not think, Tim? But Tim, on that point, Tim, do you not think? Because I got into this. There's a political show in the UK called Question Time. It's the most watched political panel show, and I was on it last week with Bonnie Greer, who's an American political commentator, who just has repeatedly called Trump Hitler and MAGA supporters Nazis in the last few weeks. And I simply said to her, you're talking about lowering the temperature again, the sort of theme, which is fine. But how does it lower the temperature to compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler, to compare his supporters to Nazis? And so I think language, like you said, language does matter, right? I do think when an impressionable young damaged mind puts on his bullet casings anti-fascist slogans, he's probably having that put in his head that Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump and all the MAGA right are a bunch of fascists, Nazis, and Trump's Hitler. He's probably hearing that a lot because you know what? I'm
just curious how he characterized that interaction.
The people on the left continue to call them that. And I think
now he has to stand in to defend all the people on the left, even though Tim kind of sort of took the half-cocked position, basically.
That's wrong.
Well, okay, sure. I guess my point is that I don't think any of us would disagree with the fact that Charlie Kirk used some very heated, intense rhetoric and leveled some very extreme allegations at the left.
Can we stop trying to blame this on Charlie Kirk?
Yeah. See, he says that. I wouldn't grant that. I'm sorry. I love Tim. And I still love Ezra Klein. And Hutch and Pisco. Okay, I love all these people. Okay, I love these people, okay? But you're saying this, but nobody else here agrees. Piers doesn't think that Charlie used aggressive language. Whoever this fat Tiger King wannabe loser doesn't agree that he used any bad language. And Carrie belongs in a lake over here. She doesn't think that, metaphorically, sorry, that's not a threat or anything, okay? She doesn't think that Charlie used that extreme kind of language, right? Like, everybody that's characterizing Charlie is literally doing my son was an angel who said no wrong and no mean things and was nice and loved everybody. Like, nobody here agrees with you when you're trying to both sides this.
Heated, intense rhetoric and leveled some very extreme allegations at the left.
Can we stop trying to blame this on Charlie Kirk? He asked you a question, Tim. Are you going to take any whenever you're asked a tough question, it goes back to what Donald Trump did and what Charlie Kirk did.
See? It's just one-sided. They just want you to come out here and beg. That's what they want. They bring you out here for a performance.
What about what we've all said and done?
Also, I'm so curious if the miking on this show is intentional. Do they have the ability to do this on Zoom to set like priorities? Like when this guy talks, okay, like check for the R, Republican or conservative opinion, and then always mute the other guy.
And do you take any responsibility? That's what
do you take responsibility for the bulgy-wulgy Utah white shooter guy who's a Mormon? Isn't Tim gay? Oh shit, actually maybe he is the ultimate responsibility then. This guy is gay, right? I didn't just make that up, right?
Because the point about the fascism, racism. Well, the thing about Hitler,
he's like screaming, and you can't. His mic is muted. Is she 180? She played. Is it his art? Tim? Didn't you basically shoot the fucking killer, Tim?
And do you take any responsibility? That's what.
Because the point about the fascism, racism. Well, the thing about the Hitler. Look, Tim, let me just put it this way. Tim, the reason I mentioned the Hitler Nazi thing.
Okay. Now that Carrie's gotten her cheap shots in, okay, Ian, you already both sides cucked yourself, and I already brought up some irrelevant panel that I did in Bongerland, okay, where I kind of got blown out on, okay? Now let me recenter this on other things I need you to take credit for right now real quick too, okay?
The fascist thing, that this constant use of this language, is that it's entirely consistent, logical, that if you're a damaged young mind and you genuinely think that Donald Trump is Hitler or Charlie Kirk is a fascist or, MAGA supporters are Nazis, it's entirely logical if you're a disturbed mind that you might think, well, it's my duty to kill these people because they are the new Nazis. They are the new Mussolini, and it's like, no, they're not.
I hear what you're saying, Piers, and I promise I can answer. I got cut off when people were saying when Carrie was saying I was trying to Charlie for this. I just want to be 100% clear. I was making the exact opposite point. I think that everybody should be careful about their language and accurate. I don't support hyperbole and smearing people falsely. I'm not for that. Okay, but here's the thing. That same logic, right? That because somebody on the left has called Trump a Nazi, because people have called him a fascist, that means they're responsible for this murderer. That same logic would rationalize any murder, right? I mean, Donald Trump uses the harshest language about his opponents. He calls them the enemy of the people. He's called them communists. He's called them fascists. He uses the word fascist. He uses extremely nasty rhetoric all the time. Would that justify a right-wing person killing a left-wing person?
No one will answer that, by the way. He should actually force them to answer it. No one will answer that. No one will answer that. No one will answer that question. No one will answer that question here.
Of course not. No, and that would be crazy to say that. So here's the thing: speech is not violence. Charlie would have said that. We all should be able to debate in the public square, sometimes intensely, but we shouldn't then go and say, okay, that means you are murderers, and we need to have literal civil war. And that is what I'm starting to hear out there from people on both the right and the left. And I fundamentally reject it. Okay, speech is not violence. We should all be
cringe. Who credible on the left is calling for civil war? The TikTokers. The ex-users. He shouldn't even both sides it, especially after he's getting gangbanged so hard by all of these demons on this show.
Be more responsible. We should all be more respectful. I don't think we should. Sorry, Wajahad. I don't think we should have been live hate tweeting Charlie during his memorial. We can be more respectful.
Thank you, Tim.
But words are not violent.
Oh my God! And that's where they agree. That's what they. You know what you're watching every single. This is what you guys want me to do. Oh, I will never do this. I'll never be in this position again with these losers. This is what you guys want me to do. Okay? And this is what he just had to do. Was forced to do.
We totally disagree on that issue, but we just... You were asking for that one. No problem. No, but look, that was an important moment, because we totally disagree on that issue, but we just shook hands anyway. And you know what we'll do afterwards? We'll have a beer. So, you know what it is when you disagree on something and then you fight about it and then you have a beer afterwards? That's called America.
Okay. Good.
So let me see if I can get agreement, and this. I don't know which way this is going to go. Okay. So when we talk about trans issues in terms of sports, I know we have massive disagreements. Okay. And on one of those issues, professional sports, I agree with you guys. On high school sports, I don't. We'll go get into a bloody battle on that. Okay.
Some concessions.
But I want to ask you guys something.
Okay.
Do you believe that trans Americans should have the same constitutional rights as all Americans to employment, health care, and housing? Constitutional rights.
You want me to translate? Well, there is no constitutional right to housing.
All of you. I will never be in this cuck position.
Okay, so I hear you. What I got out of that, guys...
I'm just trying to be the interpreter.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of applause and there was some consternation, right? I'll take it. It's a start.
That.
For saying that.
You're welcome. Words are not violence, though, and we shouldn't be accusing the other side and smearing everybody on the other side of being some evil enemy, like because of one deranged kid's actions. This is going to end really bad in this country.
Yeah,
if that's
I don't disagree at all. Eric, final word to you. You wanted to say
Yeah, no, I'm just going to point something out. So everyone here wants to, we're pundits, guys. Across the board, we're pundits. Kerry works in the administration. Other than that, the rest of us are pundits. So for Wajahid to say, we want unity or tone it down, but if we don't, it's because Trump says a lot of things. Trump was almost assassinated twice. Charlie Kirk was assassinated
by a white man who came from a Trump voting family.
For their thoughts and for their words, okay? My point is this. Until and unless, and I'll say both sides, you want to have Trump tone his rhetoric down, you don't have J.B. Pritzker calling Trump a Nazi. You don't have...
Damn, and somehow... first of all, I absolutely have more moral high ground here because I'm willing to do it if they're doing it. They assume my position. They take my position. Well, if you guys are willing to do it, we've been doing it for a decade.
The leaders on the left, Ilhan Omar, Jasmine Crockett, AOC saying, oh, if it weren't for the gun, he wouldn't be dead. Bullshit.
What about Barack Obama? What about Joe Biden? First of all, and I bet you I can find tweets from AOC and probably Pritzker and probably, I don't know about Crockett. I'm sure I probably could, saying like nobody should be killing each other over political speech or whatever. Somebody look for a Crockett's tweet. Come on. Those are the leaders of the... Also, what does that say in your mind? Who are the leaders of the Democratic Party? Crockett and AOC. God damn it. Like, you okay, buddy?
Ilhan Omar, Jasmine Crockett, AOC saying, oh, if it weren't for the gun, he wouldn't be...
Ilhan Omar, brother, do you just hate black women? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you just racist? He's like, these Ilhan Omar, AOC, Michelle Obama, Oprah.
Dead. Bullshit. It was a rifle. It wasn't an automatic or semi-automatic gun. It was a rifle, a bolt-action rifle. It had nothing to do with a gun. So those folks are using it to further divide, I'll say on the right and on the left, further divide the country because it gets people. As for the pundits, the people here, and Piers, you point out, the most popular show in England, it was hosting someone who called Trump a Hitler over the last couple of weeks, repeatedly, Wajahid, calling us, fascist, whatever, gets you booked. Hate tweeting while Charlie's funeral is on, got him booked.
He literally used his own words.
That's next level depraved.
I literally used his own words.
Based. I hope this guy's whole audience is supporting him. I don't know what he does, but I hope they're all like, you were based on that show. Instead of saying, you should have been more like Tim and cucked out, because they all would have respected you more. And then you could have had a really good conversation about...
You did, but it was,
by that,
you did,
that says a lot about you.
You know what, Vajah, it is true. You did use his own words, but you did it to trash talk Charlie Kirk during the...
Jasmine Crockett. Today's act of political violence in Utah against Charlie Kirk is absolutely disgusting and unacceptable. We don't have to agree on everything, but we should all agree on this. Political violence is wrong and has no place in our democracy. Wait, where's the next 5.5 thousand likes? Joey Manarino, you of all people, caused this to happen. Designate Democrats as domestic terrorists. You dumb bitch. You are the problem. You're the one that justifies this hate. You are just as responsible for this as the shooter. Your side did this. Segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Spelled incorrectly, based. Oh, look, another Democrat reading from the violence is wrong, has no place in our democracy script. Meanwhile, your party spends every day smearing conservatives as enemies of the state. Spare us the performance. Jasmine, you helped write this. Jesus Christ. Holy fuck. And she's one of the people they were citing as didn't disavow. Good one, losers.
I literally used his own words.
Yeah, you did. But it was,
by that, that says a lot about you.
You know what, Vajah, it is true. You did use his own words, but you did it to trash talk Charlie Kirk during the memorial.
I used his own words. Honestly,
I used his own words. I thought what you did was horrible.
By using his own words.
On a human level, I just found it
by using his own words.
Whatever. Just horrible.
By using his own words.
Okay, I found it horrible. You know what? It's my free speech right. Thank you all very much.
I agree. Piers, I agree.
Carrie, I'm going to leave it else. We run out of time.
I love the show Piers Morgan Uncensored. I know this is the new version, Piers Morgan Censored, but
when have I censored you?
The old version.
When have I censored you? When have I censored you?
This guy's depraved.
I haven't censored you.
Wait.
I never censored anybody. I just told you I found what you said horrible. You know what? Free speech lets me do that, Vajah.
Can we end on unity? Do you agree with me and Ted Cruz that President Trump using and abusing the power of the FCC to cancel his critics is terrible for all people, all Americans? Yes?
You know, we talked about wanting to unify, but honestly...
She's not. Are they going to? Are these two over here going to?
Just cancel his critics is terrible for all people, all Americans. Yes?
You know, we talked about wanting to unify, but honestly, I don't know who this guy in the middle is other than he's written for
I'm literally agreeing with Ted Cruz. Do you agree that the president using and abusing the FCC to cancel all critics is terrible for all Americans?
The good news, everybody, is...
They did it. This is me and Dave Rubin's moment on this show. These people are insane, dude. They're insane. What do you want to say?